Hello there. Well, I don't think our intro played, Chad, but you know what? I think we're live right now.
Are we live? Oh, whoops. Better get back then. I didn't hear the music.
Oh, man. You know what? Let's play it.
Hey, Geocache Talk Network fans. If you love what we do and want to support the shows, we've got two great ways to help keep the adventure going. You can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/geocachetalk for exclusive perks. Or if you prefer a one-time boost, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/geocachetalknetwork. Every bit of support helps us bring you more geocaching fun, stories, and shows. So whether it's a membership or a coffee, we appreciate you being part of making the Geocache Talk Network operate. Thanks, and happy caching.
Logwork, the creators of the fantastic logbook, made with genuine Write-in-the-Rain paper. The logbook's designed for the micro-containers of the present and future, geared towards the hider who'd rather go caching than doing cache maintenance. Find them at logwork.com. That's LOGWERK.com.
Calling all geocachers. At artedcrafted.com, we create unique apparel designed by geocachers for geocachers. From custom t-shirts to personalized mugs, our gear lets you express your passion. Stand out at your next event with artedcrafted.com. artedcrafted.com. Gear up for your next geocaching adventure. Hey guys, and my bad about that. For everybody that doesn't know, I just joined the show probably 2 minutes beforehand. What I ended up doing earlier today is I said tricacheus 3 times, and apparently the Beetlejuice principle was in fact, because once I did, tricacheus showed up, so him and Whiskey Sours actually showed up in town with Jane and caught up. So it was just one of those things. I got a message and it's like, hey, we're going to come to New York. And it's like, of course I'll meet up with tricacheus and Whiskey Sours and Jane. Why wouldn't I,
Well, great.
Absolutely.
Well, no, we'll let it go this time.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try not to say tricacheus 3 times and have them appear like Beetlejuice.
Does that work?
The next show chat.
After the show, I'm going to try and see what happens.
Yeah, you got to try it. It worked for me. I'll just say that.
Perfect. So for everybody joining, I don't know if you were in here last week, but or last episode, last month, we did the human-powered gadget cache. And so we have back Mike, which is two-step.
Yep, 2 steps.
And John, Heart of Oak, here. If you look at John, he's actually in HQ right now. So we get to have a lackey on the show tonight.
Yeah, hello.
An honor.
That's awesome.
So so what we went over last time, in case you weren't in last month in the show, what we did was we had a challenge go out. We built a hand generator crank powered cache here. John, actually, you can show my extra screen there, my desk. There we go. And I kind of showed how to put this together. This was one of the final ones here. This was actually on the wall at an event. But you have to crank this up, the generator up, and it will power up a cache, either a latch or a screen or whatever you want to do with it. So our challenge went out to all the builders out there to build one and then come back on the show today and show it off to everybody and explain, if they're willing to explain how they built it. And there we are. So if we want to go ahead and start with Mike, show off your build.
Great. So this is an idea I've been kicking around myself for a little while before I actually got to it. I actually originally tried to take one of these 3D printer stepper motors and turn it into something. I actually got a little crank for it. It worked well enough, but it took a lot of elbow grease to get it to generate a current. So when I saw the show last month and you showed off the the smaller kind of self-contained project kits, I was all over that. So I immediately, while the show was still in the air, ordered a pack of these. They came in a 2-pack, so I still have to figure out what this one's going to do, or if it's going to be a spare. And I got thinking. So my whole shtick is ammo cans. Put everything in an ammo can. Ultimate weatherproofing, ultimate durability. Harbor Freight's best customer for ammo cans. So that's what I ended up doing, is building it into an ammo can here. But the catch is that's not as easy as it sounds, because when you put the handle on this thing, you'll see real quick it's bigger than the ammo can. So I had to figure out a way to make this kind of modular, make this all fit. So step one was trying to make a mount for this. And one thing that's peculiar on this, you'll see, is the mounting surfaces are not equal. So you got 2 right here, 1 here, and then kind of an oddball one off by itself. So that took a little 3D printing ingenuity, and I had to kind of make iterative steps and slowly find out where these holes are. And then that eventually turned into a cover case, and that built out into a more full project. So that gave me a housing. So now I had a thing that would hold the crank in place. So let me open this can up here and show you what I have going on. So at this point, I have the cover case, I have the case, I have the crank. What's it going to do? So I have this thing. It can generate a good amount of current. I think about the 20 volts I think you can get out of this thing before you start pushing your luck. But how do I fit that in an ammo can? So that was step one, was building this little tiny box that has a tether that goes into the bigger ammo can. So I figured that problem out. Next is, how do you tell when you've hit your voltage? So I'm wearing a little Doc Brown here. I have a voltage sensor, voltage gauge on the front. So when I crank this up a little bit, tilt my camera down. See, you start getting a little voltage readout here. It's hard to see on the camera. The more you crank, the bigger that number is going to get. You can crank this up to about 5 volts. And I'll take us to the next part of this building, which is the big red button. Everyone likes a big red button. What does the big red button do? The big red button opens this compartment right here. So once we hit our 5 volts, we push our big red button. Out pops the latch, and there is the inner compartment of this geocache. And I did not glue it in yet, so let me pull this out of the can. And you'll see the entire housing is actually 3D printed in 3 parts. So you have the container, this little separator seam here, and then this, which is actually just the empty void where that button box sits inside there. And then the magic piece is actually in here is a little electronic latch. It's actually one I saw years and years ago. Derek, Baker 6 Clan, actually showed the metallic version of this latch, and someone found a plastic one online. And the key difference there is the plastic one does not need nearly the amperage to pop. And it actually has a built-in capacitor. So to reclose this just goes in like that. We're now closed. You can't get in there, especially if it's glued in the ammo can. And you got to crank it up again. Get your voltage up. And it pops off. Over and over again. I've been playing with it. It's fun to play with because you kind of feel like a mad bomber when you can mash the button and the plings out of there. It's a satisfying feeling. Yeah, that was my core idea. I needed a way to get this all in the ammo can, and kind of going modular with it and designing it piece by piece seemed to be the best methodology. So starting with the crank to a mount to a box, and then figuring out, well, what am I going to power now that I have all this built? So I've been trying to figure out a way to use this latch for a long time, and now with the benefit of this crank and a little bit of super basic circuitry, a capacitor and a resistor, I was all set.
Yeah.
A capacitor and diode, actually.
And the pigtail there, is that just connected? Is that a special? Would you have a special wire?
I have a heat shrink tubing on there now. It's a little ugly, but there is just a little quick release connector, so I can disconnect this. This will all come apart if I need to service it. It's only held together with some mild glue, so I can pull it apart, print a new piece. I have a spare servo. I have a whole box of these little displays, so I could theoretically build as many of these as I have the patience to build, or do service on them, which is also key with any kind of gadget.
Yeah, that's very nice. I like that. Should be a blue button for this year, though, not a red button.
I know, I was debating. I had a green, a red, and a light up red. I couldn't get the light up red to work, so I went with just a solid red.
Oh, the light up red one would be
That's
cool.
a call to action right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get it to light up at 5 volts, then it lit up, then you'd know you had the voltage.
That was the original plan, but I would light up when I got it to light up. It would light up low at like 3.5, and I needed to be at least 4 to get it to pop. So I went with my little cheap voltage output here. So you have
That
a
looks
nice solid
way
number.
more high tech. The voltage.
And I have it embossed right there.
Wow.
Charge to 5 volts. Press
There you
button.
I like it. That's
With
super.
directional arrows on the turning radius.
Oh man, you just need to include make sure sign log. Otherwise, people will be like, I followed the steps and I got the logging requirements.
Yeah, it didn't automatically log the cache for me.
No.
I had someone do that once, and they had to go back through and finish the puzzle because they were so excited to finish the puzzle.
Oh
They
man.
didn't,
They forgot to sign the logs. So, and it was superheroes in Jeopardy, and they weren't superheroes.
Oh no.
Right?
Oh.
So they didn't know anything about superheroes, so it already took them 2 tries to get it. So, but hey, it's part of the fun.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Mike, I feel like with you, it's like I just want to say, like, what can't Mike fit into an ammo can on this one?
I said I promised I would get it in there.
That was the
It's like a
challenge.
glove,
We wanted to challenge them.
The out of the box thinking, quite literally. Take it out of the box if it doesn't
Yes.
fit.
Out of the box.
I thought you were going to add an extension on the charging arm, so you could actually just have it separated and pop it in there.
I thought about that, but I was worried that anything I could print would snap too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like what you did. That's pretty nice.
And Mike, is that all PLA that you used on that one, or?
Yeah, I do PLA inside cans like this because they're going to be out of direct sunlight, so they're not going to get any kind of UV blast, and they're typically going to be hidden out of sunlight, so they're not going to bake in the sun and soften too much.
Mhm.
If I went fully naked, I would go PET G, but in the ammo cans, I always just go PLA because the ammo can's doing all the heavy lifting for the environmental resistance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I use PLA for 90% of everything I do.
It was a fun time, especially when I realized I needed to include a diode because without the diode, once you charge the capacitor starts spinning this by itself. So you get up to 5 volts, you let go of this, and suddenly it's spinning in the opposite direction, and your voltage is draining out like a ghost is. Which could be an interesting other gadget.
That would be interesting one at Halloween.
That's right. Call it like the ghost crank or something on that
Oh
one.
yeah, I set it down. And I turned around and it was all tangled up. Like, what is going on? Like, oh, the capacitor's back feeding into what is basically the stepper motor in here and spinning it around for us.
You could do that, a ghost one, as a 2-person one, like we had in our event, and John saw this. They're 25 feet apart, I think it was. If you cranked one, you'd have help with your ghost. Your ghost would crank the other one. Because if
cool.
you link those together, it would spin. It would crank.
Or if you want to get real devious, you link them together and you make them opposite so you can't crank them at the same time because you're constantly feeding the other one.
Yeah, I was just thinking it would start spinning on its own, so it seemed like a ghost was spinning.
Yeah, the ghost one would be good. That'd be a good one.
That would be cool.
We have a Halloween event coming up. I might have to think about that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Bell on the Move says that's very interesting to use the electronic latch. I'm sure it was much easier to line up the latch that way. Is that what you found, Mike?
Exactly. So I was worried about the thickness of the lid. So there is a mounting point, but I was worried if I made this and embedded it into the plastic like that, it would eventually stress where the PLA apart. Unless I made it excessively thick, and then it's this big chunky piece of plastic. So kind of using that through hole and going through like that, it worked like a nice clip, and then just a little piece of paracord to keep it together. And I just untied it.
And then you can actually have this part of the latch closer to the edge if you put the lid on and then snap this on. Otherwise, you got to give that clearance for the angle when it goes down. So that's actually a really smart idea.
Yeah, that was the part that gave me the most trouble thinking of how to solve it. Because I kept thinking of, I'll embed it, I'll glue it. But all it does is create a nice weak spot for this to pop off, and then the entire point of the gadget is defeated. But this, you have to suffer a catastrophic failure of the lid for this to no longer be effective at closing it.
That's
And
really
when
cool.
it's in the can, even though it kind of flaps a little bit, you can't get your hand in there to kind of thumb it up or pop it loose with your finger.
So to real quick go over the latches, I use these on all my caches. This is the
That's-
plastic 5-volt one that you
Yep.
use. Really nice latch. I love them. It also you have 2 wires here. So if you're using it with power, with AC power or some kind of power, that will, if it latches and it needs to get continuous power, use your blue and green wire here, and that will, once it latches, it will cut the power off. Otherwise, it will burn up. Or this is your continuous power, which is what you use, because you won't have any power afterwards after you activate it. And so that's a 5-volt. I'm not sure how many amps it is, but I'd imagine.
I also found there's definitely a capacitor in there, because if I don't charge just the 5 volts and I charge it to say 4, I hit my little popper button. It'll take a 1/10 of a second to go, and I'll watch the voltage actually on my readout drop down, as it must be charging an internal cap to pop it.
Yeah, and then this is the 12-volt metal one that I use a lot of as well. And so I switched to these when we found them a couple years ago. And I really like the 5 volts just because it doesn't take as much power to do anything. But yeah, and I think personally, in my experience with them, I think they last longer than the metal ones.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they're nice. And they have a manual release too.
The metal does too. You talking about this little one on top?
Yeah, well, but they both have that little tail. So if you needed to kind of have an escape button, if something the components fry, there is a mechanical flick it, and the springs will take care of everything for you.
Yeah, so years ago, I was going to build a cache that was a marble cache. And so you put a marble down a maze and it would drop. And I was going to build a little pad out here, a little paddle that the marble would hit, and then it would activate the latch. So it didn't need power at all. But if you built a little paddle off of this, or whatever you want to call it, for the marble to hit and then roll off of, it would absolutely open up that latch. It doesn't take much weight. So
now you got me thinking again.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
well, I thought about that because I burnt one of these up, but the latching system still worked manually, but not with the electronics wise. So
I've got so many marbles just sitting here waiting for a purpose.
yeah, I had a
I'm
1
glad
inch.
you didn't lose those, Mike.
Yeah, I was using a 1 inch ball bearing for the weight, is what my thought was. But I have so many thoughts, and it's in my book of things, and someday I'll get to it.
Oh yeah, I got one of those right here.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe for next month. Maybe I'll have to mess around with that, because you can make the maze on the CNC machine and put a plexiglass front on it, and be pretty fun.
That'd be a nice large form one where you could see it like a nice display piece where you can see the marble kind of going through. Or if you did a ball bearing, you could do the magnetic trick where you pull it through with a magnet.
That was my thought, was either the ball bearing with a strong magnet. My only thought on that is I have one like that already, and it scratches the acrylic up after time, but whatever, it's fun. Or you put it on a wheel, right, that spins, right? And so you got to spin the wheel, and once it gets to a certain point, you have to figure out when it's going to drop down into the hole that will then activate the latch. So different thoughts on that.
Price is right. You have to Plinko it down.
Yeah, I was going to say the Plinko version would be fun.
Plinko would be fun, yeah.
Especially if you did multiple latches and only one of them had the log.
Okay, I got to pull my book out here. I'm going to forget about this. So
I was going to say, I wonder if that's how KBK Wick, who created Infernal Device, I wonder if that's how he did. Is that how he did his, Chad?
I'm not sure how he did. No, he used. Well, I can't say no. I didn't see what the inside of his looked like.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening that maybe attended Cache Fest last year in Oklahoma, the gentleman who has an Infernal Device cache there, which is an amazing cache, built a maze out front, and that's how you spun it. But you spun it to the middle, and the middle had a hole, so it always had a hole that was lined up, and it'd go down and then activate a door that would open up, and there was an ammo can on the door. But yeah, that's what John's talking about. So it's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can find a picture of it. I got a picture I'm going to upload quick. But I mean, yeah, something like that you could probably do. I mean, that was a awesome design on that one. Yeah, let me upload that asset and pull it up.
I'll say, if someone gave me the space, I could do some serious nonsense.
That's one of the issues I have. I have the space for things, and I actually have a container that I think it's 5 foot by 5 foot square with a double door. That would be
Yeah.
perfect for it. I think it's about 8 inches deep.
Oh wow. Yeah, and here's a picture of this one.
Yeah, there you go.
So for Cache Fast Oklahoma, you can see me looking befuddled for just a split second, saying, "How does this work?" And essentially, you drop a ball into the top, and then you spin the wheel, and then you get it to the center, and then it goes down in, and it pops open a door onto that one, and then there's a glorious ammo can that was inside. So that was amazing.
It was fun. That was in the lobby of our host hotel there, and I believe you used a golf ball.
Yes, you're right.
Golf balls in it. So yeah, it was fun. It was a blast.
The scale is very fun to play with.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was big, as you saw the picture with John. It was big and heavy. We helped him unload it from his car.
Yeah, it looks like a Price is Right prop.
Yeah,
it totally did. I mean, and it was just like so gratifying to hear that like golf ball drop, and you hear it like clanking around, and then people were trying to kind of like see who could finish it first on that one, and it was awesome.
That was fun. So good idea. Seabeck Tribe here mentioned in the comments that oops, did I click on the wrong one? She mentioned Goblin Dust has a marble cache in Kitsap County, Washington. So that's actually where years ago I got these latches from. Is from Goblin Dust. He mentioned it to me years ago, and I started using them, and it was from his marble cache. And then that's where we learned the new ones that come out with the blue and yellow wires will cut off the power after it's activated, because the marble sometimes would get stuck on the latch, and it would open up the can, but then it would burn out the solenoid. So anyway, that's where that came from. So yes, he does have one like that.
And those plastic ones are nice because even a 9-volt will pop them just like that. Just nice, simple 9-volt battery on the contacts, and boom, springs right open.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, Mike, have you hidden your cache out in the wild yet?
This one, not yet. I just let it sit and dry this past week, and I'll be out of town this weekend for some kind of event that you might have heard of.
It's some event in maybe Morgan,
small get together,
perhaps somewhere.
Somewhere.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah.
I have a home for it. Actually, one of my other gadgets went missing this week, which is sad, but now I have a place to put this one.
Oh, there you go. Silver lining.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then do you archive your old cache and republish it?
Well, I'll archive the one that's gone. That was one that used an ultraviolet light and some UV reactive rocks. That one gets archived. I'll give it a few days. I don't like to just like back to back, but I'll probably put this one in the same general area, since it is otherwise a good hiding spot. I think it just got hit by some landscapers or kids venturing in the woods, probably.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's too bad.
Okay, should we move on to John here on his?
Sure, let's do it. Mine's in a light prototype state, so excuse that. But I actually took a little bit of a different approach. It's been a while since I worked in electronics. I knew that I didn't want to do much maintenance. I was skeptical of batteries just because I didn't want to go ahead and have to figure out how to change it or when to change it. So I started brainstorming ways that I could create a gadget cache that didn't need batteries, and kind of in parallel invention at the same time as you guys happen to be talking about gadget caches that were hand powered or human powered. It just happened to be that I was working on this, so it felt like a really good plug right into the segment. But because I didn't have a lot of experience, I went ahead and used ChatGPT to help guide me. I gave it a rough concept. I told it what I'd love to be able to do is use some kind of hand crank. What I had or what I knew was flashlights that you could crank up, and just use that concept to power a cache and fire some kind of solenoid. I didn't know at the time about these latches. I also stumbled on those, and then you started talking about it, and I'm like, well, that's a coincidence because I just happened to find it and get some advice from you and Goblin Dust on using them. So that really helped. But my approach was, basically trying to make something that's going to be pretty durable. I had to deal with a few complications there. But it's pretty simple. I bet I have components that I don't even need, but ChatGPT told me to go ahead and do it just in case. I think this flashlight actually has like a DC output. I think there's some stuff going on. So if I ever go to like a different motor, I will need like a rectifier to convert the AC current from cranking to DC. I have a voltage booster because I looked at the 12-volt latch. I looked at something that's metal, hopefully bulletproof and will last a long time. I was a little worried about whether or not the 5 volts would hold up. So it's good to hear that they have, because that'll reduce the cost in half of the overall build. But yeah, the idea was just get a big enough capacitor that when I crank something, it charges up. And I wanted to add a layer of complexity. I knew about reed switches, which are really cool magnetic switches that are normally open and they close when you expose them to a magnet. And I was like, what can I do with that? I can kind of use that as some puzzle logic. I do a lot of creative writing just for fun, and I thought it would be cool to incorporate a story and use a puzzle to help facilitate that. So that was one of the requirements, was that nothing happens until you've closed 4 different reed switches. In the setup that I've got prototyped, there's just one that I can demonstrate. But they're really fun to play with. It's cool because you can kind of embed and hide a magnet somewhere so no one really knows what's going to unlock it. It kind of leaves a little bit of a mystery, or where the magnet needs to be, because it works through a little bit of a distance, at least several millimeters, 1/4 inch, maybe even 1/2 inch for a strong magnet. So that's pretty cool. And then Goblin Dust gave me some advice to simplify from using transistors or MOSFET to just a simple relay. And I actually do have a light up button. That's the kind of end state, is when you charge it up enough and you solve the puzzle, the button will light up and indicate that you should press it. I also wanted to design for something that wasn't going to be easy to brute force. So just the way that I have my puzzle set up, I think there's 1,296 different combinations. So you'd have to crank it until you got the right one. So it kind of it's possible to brute force, but you're going to be there cranking for a while. And then the other thing was with durability, with not having to think about batteries, the other approach is I'm not happy with the plastic gear trains that come in these flashlights. I opened it up and I'm this is going to be kind of hard to work with. If someone out in the field really cranks hard, I can imagine those plastic teeth getting stripped. So I've got a CNC. I used it to cut my own gears and hopefully build a reliable box. This thing will hopefully be placed in a library out of the elements, so I won't have to worry about what is actually kind of getting into it or wearing down on it from sunshine or rain, UV exposure, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's pretty simple in execution. You crank it a little bit, and this green button should light up there we go. When I solve the puzzle. That's the basically the stand-in for solving the puzzle. And essentially you solve it up, charge it up, and fire the latch. It's going to be pretty thematic, so I chose a button that I can shape like a gem. It's very story-driven, the puzzle itself. But it follows the same basic principles. I could probably even simplify it down a bit more if I wanted to. But generally, it was pretty easy and straightforward with ChatGPT. I asked for basically step-by-step wiring instructions. I gave it my concept and brainstormed back and forth, what would be the best components, what's going to be compatible. And it gave me step-by-step, wire the positive from this and the negative from this to these rows, or to the input pin or to the control pin of the relay. And it basically did all the heavy lifting for me. I just kind of plugged some things in and did some soldering. And I think, picking up on the cache that we just saw, I'll probably add my own connectors that are easy to connect and disconnect, so I can do maintenance if need be. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. It's extensible, so once you do one, now I think I'm going to switch to those 5 volts. It'll be cheaper, like easier to do the capacitors, and I think all in, I could probably mass produce those, like the 5-volt version, for $15 or $20. Not bad. And I'm a woodworker, so I'm making my own case. I've got some images that I might be able to share. I'll see if I can drop them in the chat. But yeah, it's a little different approach than the like additive 3D printing, but nonetheless, it's still fun to figure out how I can make something that won't need maintenance, that can survive abuse and people really cranking on it. So hopefully the longevity of the components that I've chosen is good enough that I don't need to worry about it.
I like that. I like the fact that you use ChatGPT. I would never have thought about that.
I mean, I've heard of vibe coding, but vibe caching is a whole new era.
That is such a cool idea, because I know I use AI quite a bit at work and other things on that one, but I mean, just to use that to help create the idea of the Gadget cache and then to build it. And John, when you were doing that and talking about the connections, was it actually showing you kind of like a physical diagram of how to connect, or was it just textually describing it?
It offered to do wiring diagrams. The output right now is trash. But it did talk me through it step by step with text, and I found that was more useful than the diagrams anyways, honestly. I gave it component numbers, or part numbers, and specifically I would take pictures of things and it would look and looks like your wiring's correct. I don't know how accurate it was, but it works. So, I guess it's proof.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's wild. So, I mean, just from that prompting and then just to verify, you uploaded those pictures, took it, and then it said, yes, it is correct. And what prompts were you giving it again to help create the ideas?
Yeah, well, I'd have to go back through and look at all of them. But I told it I'm talking about geocaching. I want to make a gadget cache that used a hand crank generator and a capacitor to fire a solenoid. I knew that I just needed something to trigger the solenoid to release a spring-loaded compartment. And how I did it, I wasn't sure. And it gave me a few different ideas. I had conversations back and forth about different component types or different ways I could go. I told it I didn't really want to program an Arduino to do anything. I told it I wanted to avoid batteries if possible. So I debated the pros and cons of using different types of powering methods. And yeah, I just kind of had a conversation with it. It wasn't really any one particular prompt that got it done, but at each step, making sure that it had the context that I needed to give it. And just to steer it, it'll start very broad, but if something resonates, then going down that path and sticking with it for a while paid off.
Very cool.
So is that going to go in an ammo can or a different type of box?
Different type of box. I'm custom making my own wood case. Gonna also have a little false top that looks like it's hinged with a little lock that you think you might be opening, but when you solve the puzzle and press the button, it's gonna shoot out the side from a place that doesn't look like it opens.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's one last fun little deception, but yeah, it's all custom woodworking in my shop. I did not think about the challenge of fitting it in an ammo can, but it is a little big, and so scaling down would be another thing. But my puzzle is symbol based, so I needed to be big enough to actually see the symbols that you're working with, and so that was a constraint.
That's really cool. I like that one. So you're gonna have multiple latches you have to line up, right?
Yeah, I can try to share my screen if you'd like me to go ahead. I've got some photos.
Sure, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Love to see this.
Share screen. Okay. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah, let me bring it up.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So that's the puzzle. This is very, very paper prototype version of the puzzle, but essentially there's hexagons, there's 4 of them, and you've got to align it, each one of them, to the right 2 symbols. There's a lot of kind of text and story. As I mentioned, it was story based. that's the puzzle portion. The box, I'm just kind of hand making from construction lumber because I wanted something that would be durable enough, but something that wasn't going to put like hardwoods or exotic woods into it. And then down to like making my own gear trains, just making sure that they're a little bit more durable. That's kind of the flow of how I've been working. It's coming along. It should be done pretty quick, but I also am going to another event this weekend in Morgantown, so we'll be a little bit predisposed.
Man, that's funny how we're all going to an event except for Chad. Sorry, Chad.
Except for me, I'm the
To Morgantown.
I have to be different. I didn't think there were. Well, I shouldn't say it. I didn't think there's many people going, which it's a giga. Shouldn't have said that, but I meant people that I would know going. So, but anyway, maybe next time. So I think that's great. Are you going to laser cut those?
Well, yeah, I think laser engrave. I'm going to CNC out the parts so they're like beefy enough, and then laser engrave on top of them for like the symbols. But that's something that I've got to figure out. That was one of the size constraints, is those have to be big enough to read. And if I'm going to engrave them or CNC carve them, it's got to be at a scale that I can actually do that will translate to something that someone can see. So one of the challenges, but that's part of the puzzle and part of the fun of figuring out exactly what form it actually takes.
I've seen some people cut out the wood and then they would use the paper puzzle on top and then Mod Podge it on, so the paper would stay safe. But I would think laser cutting that. So you're close enough. If you need a laser cutter, let me know. I got 2 of them.
Yeah, we have one in the office that I've got to get access to. We've got a Glowforge here.
Okay.
But I might take you up on that, because honestly, just having something set up and ready to go is kind of helpful.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Hey, John, can you explain for our viewers and listeners what office you work at that has a Glowforge?
Yeah. Well, I am at Geocaching HQ. I am the newest lackey, working on the design team. And I am in our multicache room right now.
Ooh, very cool.
So everything is themed orange.
That's fun. Should be the Gadget cache room. Come on.
That'd be the mystery room, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah,
We
have a mystery room.
puzzle.
I mean, this is a stream, so I think you should be in the webcam room, but those were retired, so I guess we can't do that.
Oh man, that would be nice. Do they have a room, John, for every single cache type there?
I don't think so. We do have enough rooms, but not all of them got a cache type theme. So we stuck to, I think, the core caches that you can still find on the map today at any given time. I don't think we've got like a GPS maze room or anything like that.
Nice.
That's fun.
I see your development process follows mine when it comes to the smart caches. It's like the pile of spaghetti that's kind of barely sentient. And then once that's working, you put it into a shell.
It might come alive on me. There are lots of legs and spindly things, but that'll be part of the process, is next to take it out of the breadboard, which just is for prototyping. I'm going to solder it to like a solderable breadboard, because that's easier for me to just kind of understand and work with. I think it's very easy to approach. I don't have to really think about what's going where when. And so, yeah, I'd highly recommend it for getting into caching. Is just grab a breadboard or two and components pack on Amazon, and just play around with stuff. I made like 5 or 6 circuits that had nothing to do with the cache first, just playing with it to get familiar.
Now, did you use Tinkercad at all?
Yeah, I did use Tinkercad to cook up my first kind of stand-in circuit, but it also didn't have all the components that I wanted. Didn't have a relay, didn't have any solenoids, so I had like just a motor as a stand-in, and no hand cranks, so I had to use a 9-volt battery on the other end for the power input. But it at least got me the fundamentals and feeling like I could play without worrying about blowing up any of my components or doing anything wrong. So it definitely got me out of that like nervous headspace to just like start soldering and connecting things to power. And then slowly dip my toes in with the breadboard and feeling more comfortable with it.
That's great. Yeah, I know several people that have used Tinkercad. I've not. Well, I've messed with it once, but I wasn't too impressed. I mean, it's easier for me just to kind of get a breadboard out and some components, and okay, this does this and this, and hook this up. So, but I would think as things go, things continue and things get more complicated, and I think that the Tinkercad will be a better way to go for some people, especially if you don't know what components do.
Yeah,
Or
it's great to learn.
Yeah.
And
Or
maybe-
AI.
Yeah, there you go. AI combined with Tinkercad. They have a lot of lessons too, which was helpful to understand what all the components do. I've done some stuff back in college, but that was a while ago and I'd forgotten it all. So that refresher was super helpful. I probably would have been a little nervous to just start poking around without that. So highly recommended.
Great. Mike, are you audio out? I think it's his audio is out.
Yeah,
So he's troubleshooting it right now. So what we'll do then is go on to, if you have any more questions, John, for that, I
think one question came up, Chad, in the chat on here, from Lost Ken saying, "What is the lily pad group, Mr. Ninja?" And on here just to kind of walk through, because for new people who haven't joined, and I got my phone up here, so. The LilyPad chat is an app through Geocaching HQ that was recently announced, and Jeremy Irish was on the show on Geocache Talk a little while ago to talk about it. We do have in here several groups on here, including the Geocache Talk Gadget group. So we certainly encourage people to join that and share what they're working on, in that group on there as well. And we do have some other ones, including Cache Fest, that has some great information there, Geocache Talk. There's this a really interesting group called Pizza Fans, where people post pictures of pizza that they eat, and they talk about it and they share it as well too. So LilyPad Chat has a whole bunch of great functionality, but the one, just to plug some interesting parts on here, is if you join the Geocache Talk group on here, Gary and I at Geo Woodstock are going to be doing some cool giveaways where we're going to ask people to find us, but it's not just finding us. You're going to have to find us and do something. So who knows? Maybe you'll have to do like a dance routine. Maybe you'll have to give like a secret phrase to us, and then you can win a prize on here too. But if you haven't joined LilyPad Chat yet, definitely check it out, because I think it's going to be very cool. I know there's even on here a group at Geo Woodstock where there's been some interesting pizza conversation there. So it's interesting how much pizza conversation occurs on this, but it's not all the time, and it's not in all chat channels on that one. But Chad,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, but I know you've been using it too. So anything you want to share on LilyPad Chat?
I was going to mention that if you go to the Gadget caches, I think there's actually two. Mike has his own as well, which is a good one to follow too. So he posts a lot of stuff. Promoting your thing. I imagine it's public. So
yeah, there you go. There's the button.
Yeah, there you go. So so it's always fun. I've always belonged to a supposedly special gadget builder group you'd be invited to on Facebook. But I actually really like the LilyPad Chat better, and I like kind of being in with everybody on the thing. And this is kind of like that, because you can shoot ideas out, show your ideas off, and people can comment on it. Hey, you should try this, or that looks cool, or ask questions, anything you want to do. So I really like the LilyPad Chat, but I noticed that there's not a lot of users. But it is a separate app you have to sign up for. It also has a map, right, to show geocaches, but you can't log the cache or find details out about the cache. So
yeah, correct. And on here too, the QR code I have up here is for Mike's Gadget caches on here, if people want to log that one. And I'll bring up on here as well too the QR code for the Geocache Talk Gadget cache on here too. So on here, and there's a few options on here. If you click on here, you can share via link, invite people, and then the QR code. So I'll put it on here. And sorry, Lori. I know Lori's saying she disagrees about the pizza chat. Her phone seems to be blowing up with pizza notifications. LOL. Lori, people like pizza,
There's a lot of pizza talk.
There's a lot. I was in a meeting.
I know LilyPad kind of looks like a pizza with a slice removed, but there's a lot of pizza talk.
Yeah,
there's a lot. I almost was like, can I not have the notifications come through right away on this. I was in a meeting the other day and it went off a few times, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Chad. I know I probably only send you like 20 pizza pictures a day on that one as well too. So part of that's on me. My apologies, sir.
No, I love it. Up till about 6 months ago, I used to eat pizza once a week at least, but unfortunately, I can't eat pizza anymore. So
Oh
I'm
man,
not active on it anymore.
I suspect the Lily Pad chat's going to be the place to be this weekend.
Yes.
I think that's kind of the point of it, right? You could share your location, so if you have your friends, you'll know where they're at, right? So hey, if you got a friend where you at, you could just turn your location on. If you don't have it on, you go find them, unless you're trying to hide from them, I guess. But it is only available in the United States, right?
That's my understanding. I don't know if John has any further information on that one, but I believe when we talked to Jeremy, it was limited to the United States for the time being.
We used it at the May 4th event, and we had some Australians there, and they couldn't download the app.
I heard if you have an Android and you do some nefarious things, you can get it installed, but it won't work for all the geofenced functions unless you're in the North American region.
Yeah, and I see Lori was just giving me a hard time. LOL. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate people keeping me honest. And I also appreciate people drawing interest to pizza. So thank you for your comment on that one.
Great. I can show mine off that I did. Mine's a little bit different. So I left mine the way we had it at the event, except for you had to spin two sets of gears or I can't think of the name of it right now. But anyways, you had to spin two handles to get the power to activate, and what we used was a screen to give you a code word. So I thought I'd bring that and show it to everybody because it's a little bit different, because we have a couple different latching ones, and mine will kind of show a screen. So different options that you can do with these geared caches, these human-powered crank caches. So mine, my camera's still on there. There we go. Is this that we built last time? This is actually the final version. You can see it was used at the event a lot. So probably need to give a little more distance between the handle and the side there, but it didn't really mess anything up. Then this here went into walls. So these are mounted on walls, and then everything was wired through the wall. So you literally only saw this on the wall. And they're about 25 feet away from each other on two different walls. And then on another side of the wall that you couldn't reach, so it actually required 3 people to find this. We had two hand cranks, and then you had to push a button to activate the screen once you got it cranking. And so in order to do that, we actually have to plug in the screen, because the screen does take AC power. It's just a USB, so like 5 volts. And then, but in order to power up the relay, which I can show here, my camera's way up there to get the room. So there's a relay here that will actually activate the power for the screen. And then over here, on this side, here we end up adding a reflector on this side here, so that it actually changes from DC power to AC power on here, which is what I think John was mentioning. He might have to use his rectifier. I'm sorry, not rectifier. So anyways, it changes your DC to AC, or AC to DC power. So, and then I'll just show you how it works. Sorry, there's a lot of wires here. We just kind of cut it as we took it down and put it back together. So this is the screen that will have the code word on it. And let's see if I can do this here. What I'm going to do is use my clamp here to hold this down. So I'm going to crank it up, and then I'll push the button, and then it will come up with a code word. So if you wanted to, I'll shut it off because it's kind of loud. You could do anything in this screen. So you could put a waypoint if you had a multi-cache. You could do a code to get into a lock. This was a code word. So if you're doing I know that lab caches can be physical ones for events, but adventure labs aren't. And so if you had a lab cache where you just needed a word, you could have your word on there. But just a different thought, different way to do something. And I believe this was actually hanging up on the ceiling, so you actually had to look for it as well.
Wow.
So using the crank to power the relay to close the AC on the display.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was, these were, it required 2 at the event, but since I can't crank 2 and push the button at the same time, I knocked it down to 1.
You
Nuclear
can't be
launch
your own teamwork cache, Chad.
Yeah, I can't. They were far apart. They were, I think, 25 feet. And then sorry, go ahead.
It was a good distance apart. You were you had to coordinate. And the person pushing the button couldn't see the crankers either, and the crankers couldn't see the screen.
Yeah, so I think if you were really tall and had some long arms, you could probably crank one and push a button because it was a pillar it was on, but there's no way to see the screen at that point. So,
oh man, so you could say like you either had to be like 10 feet tall or have 2 people.
Yeah, 3 people. Well, yeah, 3 people technically, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Lori, who was there, said it took her group, a few moments to locate the screen as well.
Yeah. Well, we like to make our puzzles a little bit harder. I think, John, this is your first event you went to of ours?
Yeah.
And so some of the stuff was really easy, to where you literally walked into a room and if something was talking to you and told you a word, to where some things were like, it took a while to figure out, and was it could probably be frustrating. I noticed I had a 4-person Simon Says that was on a wall, and that was fun to watch people do. I'm sure it wasn't fun to do for some people, but that was fun. And the way that worked the best, and kind of the fun thing about doing these events and making these puzzles, is the way I think I should solve it, or it should be solved. People always think of a different way, and they kind of test it for me to figure out the best way. So I think the best way was to have either 2 people up front controlling 2 buttons, or 4 people and 1 person in the back calling the color, I think was the way. But I ended up being in the escape room most of the time, so I didn't get to see all of that.
That's fun. Reminds me of a VR game called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Ah, yes.
Where someone's in a VR headset has to disarm the bomb, but everyone else is outside with paper instructions yelling at them on how to do it.
Oh, that sounds cool. That sounds cool. And Chad, Lori mentioned something about an evil button was super evil.
Oh, that the 6-button thing? Yeah. So we had it at last year's Halloween event. It was, I wish I would have taken pictures of everything. I really wanted to do one of the shows from the event before we took everything down. But I didn't. But there was 5 buttons. There's 4 buttons on a wall that were very colorful. There's 1 button on another wall that matched the color of the wall. And then we needed to add another button to make it different than Halloween. So we actually put a little tiny black button on a black pillar on by the window across from all the other buttons that blended in. So that was fun. People were walking around the building looking for another button, and it literally was right across from them.
Oh, jeez. It's crazy.
So that was good. I think we had 30 different puzzles type things, but like I said, some were super easy. I have another one here that was, I don't know if I could play it on here live. I'll have to show it to you guys afterwards, because you pick up the phone and it's a Star Wars on hold thing. So
is it like you've reached the Death Star? We are busy at the moment.
It's like, I could play it. I don't know if we get a strike, but
okay, I hear you.
So, but yeah, afterwards I'll show it to you, and
very cool.
Maybe I'll put it on my Instagram later for other people.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's fun. So we'll have another Halloween event. So anybody who attended this or will be in the area around Halloween, we're also looking at maybe trying for a mega event in August here locally. So we'll see.
Oh,
we're working on it. We're meeting next weekend. So
awesome.
Too many events going on. Too much stuff.
I tell you,
Definitely a busy
2025
summer.
is a year of awesome events, like nonstop. Like I'm like, man, I wish I could have gone like a sabbatical off of work or something, to attend more.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have going on. So next month, I think I'll try and tackle that marble idea for that latch system.
That would be cool. I think that'd be a really fun one, especially if you have the make it a spectacle of a cache too.
I don't know how my CNC doesn't do that big of a thing, but we'll see what I can do. I think it's, what are they, John? You have the same one I think I do. Is it 40 inches or 38?
Well, I've got 4 foot by unlimited length capacity.
I guess you could adjust it. Yeah, mine's a 4 foot table wide, but the CNC can't hit all the way.
Yeah, I think I have at least 48 inches of capacity.
Okay.
You probably do something like one of these.
Yeah.
A little ball bearing marble maze.
Yeah, I made one a few years ago on live on the show. Too, that I could just do one of those. I think I have it right here.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. As Chad walks away, I think we do what everybody does. We look at what's in the shop and see what's new and different.
Scanning.
And I noticed by his 3D printer some cool case with many things in it.
Yeah, so that caught my eye.
Yeah, that caught my eye too. And like, it looks like he has some Cache Fest Oklahoma feathers in there too. I was trying to say, is there anything else that catches people's eyes?
No, I'm looking at some new tools, but oh man.
Yeah. Oh, so those are turtles, Chad. Turtles over the corner, right?
Oh yeah, that's some of the turtles from. I'm making cases for people, for friends of Coin Fest, Florida.
Oh, okay.
22, I think it was, or 2023. In Fort Lauderdale. No, not Fort Lauderdale. Daytona.
Okay.
And then these are all the friends of, well, not all of them. I'm making them to show for Cache Fest Hawaii. All the friends of coins from Oklahoma.
Oh, that's
awesome.
awesome.
I guess you guys can't see it, but they're just cases like this. I got to engrave names. They just hold up. There's these little stands that they stand on.
Very cool.
So, but we like to trying to get all the coins from the past events to the mega, so you can kind of see the different coins from the previous events. So something fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I've been looking at a UV printer, but I don't know. Anyway, this is the one I made years ago. In fact, it's been sitting in the same spot I put it after we got into making it on the show. And so it was kind of a little maze, same type of thing. It was actually for marble, or that ball bearing. But I could make it something like that. It's kind of like what you had. I had the door was going to go here and pop open in this empty spot. But yeah, I could do something like that too. It would be kind of cool. Is that actually, what is that? There's that one in Arizona, or there used to be, that you moved. What's that called? That puzzle that sits flat.
I've seen it. I've not seen it in person.
Yeah. Anyways, you'd have to move it like this. You don't need a magnet. That would be pretty cool. I have no place to put something like that but my shop, but that'd be fun to build.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Intriguing.
Oh, before I forget, chatting guys, we did have one person who submitted some pictures and a video of something that they're working around, and their caching name, and this is 100% true, is Just Ducking Around on here. So I will put in the cache that they shared with us, the GC code, in the chat for people if they want to check this one out, and a few pictures that we got of some of their caches that they used cranks for. I'll show some of the pictures on here that they submitted. So this was one, you can see the crank on the outer part of it, and you can certainly see the cover as well too. And let me see if I can show a quick. I don't know about you guys, but man, I dig that sound of the cranks. I don't know why.
It's just mechanically speaking,
Yeah.
other than a cache, that's impressive.
I love the gears. In fact, years ago, I cut a bunch of gears like that in different parts. I don't know if I kept it all, but on my CNC to do something like that.
Oh, cool.
Building stuff up. And I love what he did there with that, and the sound is amazing.
Yeah, it's just so addictive.
I'm hoping my wood gears make a nice sound. That's my next task, is to build the gear train and figure that out. So if it makes a cool sound, I'll record it and post it to the lily pad chat.
Yeah, that's instant steampunk credit right there.
Yeah. Oh, and I love steampunk. I have several backpacks that we wear to steampunk events. They steam and light up and do all kinds of stuff. They smoke, but
Steampunk cache.
yeah. I thought about it. His actually looks like, I wonder if you bought that in a kit or 3D printed those, because it looks like the back plates on there are all set to line up the gears perfectly if you place them. But
Look, he had the first picture had like metallic gearing, and then the one of the video looked like they were 3D printed on the surface.
yeah.
These are different caches, actually. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2 different caches on here. So he had this one, and then let me see if
pushes the pin up in the center, which pushes the key out. After the key's out, the paintbrush knocks the dime off. Then you spin it around, and the key will fall right out.
Okay, that guy's way more creative than I am.
That's
man.
just the gear. Oh my God, my head.
we're
That's
going to have to have him on a future show.
Yeah,
We had him on
absolutely.
tonight.
It looks like that cache should spit out tickets you traded for a prize. Looks like an arcade machine.
It does. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you sent that in, that's your cache, would like to show it, either one of those caches, let us know. We'd love to have you on.
Yeah. And again, that was just that was from Just Ducking Around and GCB 2BHM.
Where's that located?
That one is located in Connecticut.
Okay, just a little bit from HQ.
Yeah. You know, John, just come out from HQ, stop in beautiful Western New York. We'll have some pickle pizza, go to Eternal Flame Falls, and then, just head right on over to Connecticut, and then you can get it.
All right, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
That's a new one too. That's only out since February.
Oh, yeah.
It's fresh.
Yeah, 17 favorite points, 81% favorites. So
It's going to get so many more. That is an amazing,
Yeah.
amazing build.
That's one where you go, if I could give it 10, I would.
Yeah.
I know. I know. I just want to give it a favorite point, not even finding it. I just want to be like, take this.
Me too.
HQ needs to do another favorite point thing where it's like a mega favorite point. Right. So you got favorite points for cache, and then you got like an extra favorite point, mega favorite point.
Super duper favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
Point. Or you get, for every 10 favorite points you get to give a super favorite point to somebody else.
Oh, there you go. That's a great idea. I wish we had someone from HQ on that might be able to throw these ideas around.
Interesting.
That would be great. You know what that would do is it would make people create caches that receive more favorite points so they could give their super favorite point away.
That would be cool, because you could have like what would you call it? I love Mike's idea, because it's like for people that earn those favorite points, it's like, would you call it like cache hiders favorite points or something like that? So
it almost turns into like Rotten Tomatoes, where you have critic review and then audience review.
Yeah. That'd be cool. I like that. I wish someday I could ever get the most favorite points in Washington State, but I don't think I can because HQ hogs them all.
Oh man.
You can never beat out their event, their whatever it is, their tour.
There's definitely a few states that are kind of out of balance for some of the big names out there.
Yeah. Just saying, Chad, maybe you need to try a little harder.
Try a little bit harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't put many caches out lately, so probably should.
Yeah,
probably
you could.
We got to turn that crank into a cache.
Yeah.
That's right. Crank out.
We'll put it out.
Gadget caches.
Start cranking out the hides.
All right. Well, that was fun.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Anything else you guys want to talk about? We're on here.
I'll be at Geo Woodstock next week. So if you see me walking around with my bag tag hanging off my bag, say hi.
Me too.
Making trade ones as well.
I don't have them with me here. They're over at my desk, but if anyone's going to be there and they find me, I'm going to be doing some usability research. And if you do it, you might get a very extremely exclusive usability research tag or UX coin. We've got a limited amount of those. But yeah, so for the lucky few who come up and want to do and participate in research, some very coveted rewards.
So, John, I just got the email that the Lackey coin is out. Did you're new to HQ? Did you make another Lackey coin this year?
I missed the cutoff by a couple weeks, so unfortunately, I'm not on this. I am going to bootleg myself into my own Lackey coin. I'm just going to print out my pixel icon and kind of glue it on. And I'll maybe make kits for all the other Lackeys to put me on their coins, but unfortunately, just missed that window.
So what you're saying is
a holder, and you put your Lackey right on top of the holder for the coin.
So what you're saying, John, is your version is the most rare version of the Lackey coin this year on that one. Yeah.
The only one with all of the pixel icons.
You need to make those and sell them at the event. Exclusive. So it doesn't count if I draw with a Sharpie your name and a stick figure of you in there.
Oh, that works. That's pretty good, actually. Not a bad approximation.
Nice. Well, next month then, I think we'll try and tackle the marble cache. If either one of you guys or anybody listening wants to try and come on and build one or talk about it, more than happy to have you on. On the show, as always, anytime you have a good idea or an idea, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, you have an idea for a cache, you can always share it with us at gadgettalkpodcast@gmail.com. Send it to there. You can, I'm on Instagram as well as LilyPad chat. You can join any of our chats, share it with everybody else, all the other builders. We have Mike and John both, and the other John on the Gadget Talk site or LilyPad chat. We'd love to hear about it or share any ideas that you may have or try and come up with an idea or how to complete that idea.
Yeah. And I just love the fact that this community helps each other's out. And I think we all walk away from every show with so many more great ideas too. That is just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But thank you guys again for joining us tonight. And we hope everybody has a good night. And if you see me in Morgantown, feel free to say hi. Feel free to talk pizza. And oh man, Rick Dorsey, super duper favorite point.
That's right.
Love it. But good night, guys. Take care.
Safe travels,
good night, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Boy, that ends super fast now. That's a